If you want to make money and there's one video you watch tonight, I hope it's this one, because frankly, you're going to learn a lot about the scars of what it's like to run an over $100 million real estate business, to be the CEO, and you're going to learn what the scars are like, what the failures are like, what the lessons are like, and changes that are made to prepare for either luck or opportunity. We'll talk about all of that in this video, so it's going to be a little bit of a longer one, but I'll try to break it up into chapters down below. But in the meantime, buckle up, good luck, and I hope you learn a lot. You ready? I brought coffee for myself. All right, let's get started. So, look, this video, while it's going to have a lot to do with my real estate business, HouseHack, I want you to know that you could learn a lot from this, whether or not you're interested in that business. So it doesn't matter. Now, if you are interested in the business, you're going to get updates along with this video, but we're doing it all sort of together in one, so you can learn even if you don't care about that business. But I want to start with one of the most important lessons, because it really leads into what's going on with HouseHack right now. A lot of people look at others who are successful and say, wow, they are really lucky. And look, to everyone's credit, yes, life definitely takes luck. The luck that you're born, the luck that you're either living in now or watching from now, a place of opportunity. The fact that maybe you were born in America versus a developing country. These are things that we just can't control, so we could really only chalk them up to luck. But when it comes to business, the most important lesson that you really have to know is that business doesn't just start working. It takes a lot of preparation, and then let's call it luck or opportunity, and together, those two things, the intersection of those two things, can really create some awesome wonders. Think about this for a moment. This YouTube studio that I'm in right now, I built this studio starting in 2015. It actually took me 2 years to build it because honestly, I built it all myself. We spent about $200,000 in soundproofing in here, which I know sounds crazy, but I have 7 kids and these walls are like a vault. They're amazing. But honestly, when I was building it, I'm like, why am I doing this? This is a waste of money. I had a successful real estate career that financed this studio, well, paid for the studio, but I'm looking at it and I'm like, why am I doing this? I hate filming videos in the office. I like filming videos sort of on like the Casey Neistat camera, running around behind bushes and dumpsters and filming about real estate. And I'm like, I don't know, but you know what? I'm just gonna have it. I'm gonna build out a really good studio that's quiet, so when the kids are noisy, no problem, I can film. I can temperature control it, everything will be perfect the way I want it. And what's interesting is I didn't really finish perfecting this studio until 2019. And what happened the very next year? COVID. And obviously that was a moment where we were all locked inside and people were looking for updates on everything that was going on in the world. And that's really where I was able to provide value and shine on YouTube. And it's really interesting because that is sort of a combination of, in some way, if you put it, the luck of everybody being stuck at home. I don't ever want to say luck, though, or that it was a good thing, because obviously many people died during the pandemic. But that obviously led a lot of people to discover me. The pandemic, people were locked down at home, and I'm locked down in a studio, but I have the studio that I could then use to make news content, which obviously many of you know me from that. That same luck, if you will, is, in my opinion, what's happening with HouseHack. See, 6 weeks ago, we were preparing to take HouseHack public as soon as January 2025. And that's, well, there are many reasons for that, but we decided to postpone that a bit, hopefully not too long, but because a possibly bigger opportunity came our way that we weren't even anticipating, but something that we had been planning for. We'd been developing plans for being able to sneak into some opportunity like this, and puts us into a really sweet spot. And see, this is one of the first lessons. When you first look at business, you might say to yourself, man, why am I building this business? Why am I getting these licenses? Why am I preparing for XYZ? It's not making us money today. And this could be one of the biggest frustrations in business. I mean, if you've been watching what we've been doing, you might be asking yourself, man, why is Kevin getting his Series 27, Series 7, Series 24, Series 14 license, his 65 license, his 63 license. Wow, SIE, oh my gosh, he has all the licenses to create a broker-dealer. Why would he be doing all of this? Why is Kevin so keen on the banking crisis? And why is Kevin so involved in broker-dealers and FDIC and the Federal Reserve? And how do all these things... Are these just all distractions? Are these just all things that, Kevin wants to do because he's bored? Or is there something larger going on? And see, for me, I know that everything that I do and that my team works on is laser focused on making HouseHack that next Berkshire Hathaway. Now, I know that sounds crazy because, hey, here's some 32-year-old guy who says he wants to be like Warren Buffett. But I also realize that you have to put in years of foundation building to really be prepared for opportunities. Let me put this as simply as possible. Imagine you've been saying to yourself, I want to be a real estate agent. I want to be able to sell multi-million-dollar homes. And then you kind of kick the can down the road of ever getting your license because there's no multi-million-dollar home for you to sell. And then all of a sudden, your cousin, I'm just making this up, or your friend or your neighbor is like, hey, I got to sell a multi-million-dollar beach home 5 miles down the road. Do you know anybody? And you're like, oh my gosh, if only I had my real estate license. That could be my first sale, which would be amazing. Any real estate agent who gets in and their first listing is a multi-million-dollar listing, like to show $1 million listing, that's amazing. But you would have had to have gotten the license first. And this is where there's this intersection of preparation and opportunity that from the outside looking in looks like luck. But my number one lesson as we start this video to everyone is make sure you're doing everything in your life to prepare. And then when you're done preparing, start thinking about what the next thing to prepare for is. Let me show you how important that is to me, and then we'll keep going with HouseHack updates and why there's this stroke of fortune, in my opinion, for HouseHack and what this could mean for investors and everything involved. But first, I want to show you something. So keep it in this little safe over here, mostly because you got to keep weapons away from children. A subscriber sent me this. This is a pocket knife. And I want to see if I could show you what that says. There you go. See how it says, meet Kevin. Next. Yeah. That's because this is a saying that I have used for many, many years. This is not sponsored, by the way, but shout out to the Palmetto Wood Shop. Thanks for sending this to me. I didn't even ask for it. They just like 5 of these showed up one day in the mail. I'm like, oh, that's quite nice. But anyway, next. So for me, this is a very big lesson as well that goes along with the first lesson of preparing. When you're done preparing, when you're done getting your real estate license, you got to ask yourself, okay, what's next? For me, when I got my real estate license while I was in college, what was next was get my broker's license. What was next after that? Let's spend 1/3 of my net worth making a TV commercial that I ended up getting crazily made fun of for. You can actually still see that TV commercial if you type into YouTube, Meet Kevin Biff, B-I-F-F, commercial. If you type that in, you'll see posted 11 years ago, Kevin's TV commercial. And it's really interesting if you look at the comments because you'll see a lot of sort of like hate comments related to it. Meet Kevin's TV commercial, Meet Kevin Biff, it'll come up under either of them. But you'll see a lot of hate comments related to this, and that was back then. I spent like $60,000, and I'm like, oh my gosh, 1/3 of my net worth is gone. Our net worth was down to 120 at that point, 120K. It's like, oh my gosh. This to me was just what was next: agent, broker, TV commercial, lending license, helping people with construction, property management scale, educating people like I had been doing, and then eventually, that evolved into YouTube and HouseHack and otherwise. We'll talk about HouseHack, of course, and the latest updates regarding that. Let's go ahead and make sure the weapons are put away in the safe spot. There we go. All right. So why does all of that matter? Well, it matters because it's very difficult to explain to people what's next and say, look, here's exactly how we're road mapping everything, because you just don't know. You don't really know what you're going to need or what opportunities are going to come because you don't know what opportunities are going to come. Now, that doesn't mean prepare for everything, but it does mean you should be prepared. And so HouseHack has recently come upon what I think is a ridiculously lucky, but something that we could also repeat somewhere else if it doesn't work out with this group, stroke of luck that could be a massive game changer for the valuation of the company. See, I look at HouseHack as honestly pretty straightforward. It's a company that buys real estate, and we buy really trashy real estate that people can't live in. Like nobody can live in it. They're empty, right? And then when we fix them up, we actually provide a service to communities because people can now live in them. And then in the future, if we sell them, somebody can buy it. So it's not like we're going around buying homes that other people can live in. We're not taking anything away. We're actually providing inventory for people, right? This is a service to the community because we go in, we take, and you'll see before and afters in just a moment, but we take these nasty, moldy, gross houses and we'll put the effort in. We'll deal with the headache, the risk, and everything associated with taking a crap property and making it great. Good to, crap to great, basically. And so for me, I see the bare minimum of HouseHack as basically, like if let's say here's the bare minimum of HouseHack. For me, the bare minimum for HouseHack is like an Invitation Homes. Let's say Invitation Homes trades for, 2.4 times book value, right? And then we get a 15 to 25% discount on the properties we buy. So let's say we might have an extra valuation of 20% on top of that. So take 2.4, add 20% on top of that. That puts us around $2.88, times book value, right? So for every dollar of book value we have, we should be worth about $2.88. Okay, cool. Well, if we have a book value of about $60 million, 60 mil times that is about $172.8 million is roughly what I think the company's value is. So anybody who invests at $1 is basically up, to almost 3x, $1 to $2.88. Anybody who invests $1.40 is roughly up $1, right? That's just sort of what I think of as the bare minimum in sort of the private valuation world, if you will, for HouseHack. Okay, cool. So if that's the bare minimum, is that what I want HouseHack to be known for? No. To me, that's like ground zero. It's like the starting line. It's like, okay, we've started. We're operating. Congratulations. So where do we go from here? Well, there are many different directions we can go from here. I mean, quite frankly, we can tokenize real estate and sell fractional shares of real estate. This is an example of how you can do mini funds, for example. You can 1031 it and basically do a 2-year hold and then flip the real estate, save the taxes, and go buy more real estate. You can do 1031 exchange, DST funds. There are endless things you could do. You could also leverage your real estate, which we haven't leveraged any of our real estate yet. Outside, a few $1 million in bonds, we don't have any debt. And these are convertible at that. So we have no debt on our real estate. It's all free and clear real estate, and we've got about $10 million of cash sitting around for our next opportunities, which we'll talk about in a moment, including our developments and other investments. So that's sort of our bare minimum for HouseHack. We just keep doing what we're doing. We buy good real estate at a discount. We rent it out. Eventually, we sell it, and we keep doing it. But if we can tokenize, mini fund, cycle real estate more rapidly, great. We could probably go to, instead of selling for a multiple of book value, $2 to $3, we could probably go to selling for something like 20 times earnings. Fantastic. That's also a wonderful opportunity. But what if we could do more than that? And what is this sort of stroke of luck that we're working on right now? No guarantees, but what is the stroke of luck that we're working on right now? Well, what we're working on right now is an opportunity where we might be able to take a few $1 million and make an investment into, let's just call it a fintech opportunity that could work with HouseHack, Wedge Finder, artificial intelligence that we have for valuing real estate, underwriting real estate, and create essentially in partnership with another company that is regulated in a very different way from us. Okay, details to be determined once we get there. Like, there's some things I just can't say right now. Then what we could do is really create, in partnership with this company and HouseHack, Fintech services for landlords, tenants, in the future, stock investors. There are a lot of things that we could do. I think that with this strategic opportunity that, frankly, we happen to have been preparing for something like this with all of our licenses that our team has been working on, and then now all of a sudden it's feeling so close, we're all kind of like, whoa, it really is a lesson of get ready first, and then when the opportunities come, you're ready, right? So when I say lessons from lessons and failures and mistakes, I want you to know, like, these are real things where we're like, wow, okay, yeah, this really is how business works. So what's fascinating is, my take is this potential opportunity could lead, $1 in HouseHack to be worth $100 or $1,000. Now, no guarantees. I can't make any guarantees at all. It could all be, that opportunity could fail and we're just back to our usual sort of bare minimum at HouseHack. But I'm so excited about it that I am increasing my 2024 investment into my own company to $5 million. So I'm taking $5 million of my own cash and putting it into HouseHack this year in 2024. Well, actually, like within the next few days here, into HouseHack, because I believe in this opportunity so much. And I'm not saying because I'm doing it, you should do it. I don't want you to think that at all. The reason I'm doing it is because I think if we can, 1,000x is amazing. Like that would be like really, really incredible if we could pull that off with the Fintech partnership and the investment. But let's just say 5 mil 100x's. To me, I'm looking at that going, all right, that's $500 million. That's pretty good. That's my vision has always been billionaire or bankrupt. And I just want to be transparent about my intentions. I can't make any guarantees. I just want to prepare myself not for the next year or two. It's not like I'm here for a few years to go, all right, I'll make some money and then disappear. I want to prepare myself for the next 30, 40, 50 years of providing the value that I do. And I think that's also a very important lesson for entrepreneurs is if you set yourself up for short-term profit, your career might be very short. If you set yourself up for long-term value, then you could really provide that value for the long term. And I always did that with real estate sales as well. We called it relationship selling. There was turn 'em and burn 'em or relationship selling. Which one were you? The relationship salespeople really worked their customers, cared deeply about their customers, got referrals from their customers, whatever. Turn 'em and burn 'em never built that relationship, so there was never a connection to their agent, and people just ended up selling their home with somebody else. Next time around. The turn 'em and burn 'em type were always advertising. The relationship salespeople were never advertising, and both were busy. So it just depends. One net more than the other, but whatever. So this is really exciting to me. HouseHack is expecting to make this investment within the next few weeks here, and obviously I am as well. One way that you could participate is by investing in the accredited round for HouseHack. Just go to househack.com to learn more about that. Maybe in January we'll have a non-accredited version that's sort of just dependent on the SEC at this point. If it were up to me, we would already be doing it. Or if you just want to be involved in the fintech part, my expectation is that RoboHack.ai will be another opportunity. Although there are not that many seats left, there are some people who haven't funded for that yet. We can only have 99 investors in that in RoboHack.ai. Just type in to YouTube, or sorry, your browser, RoboHack.ai. And if you go there and you fund before somebody else, the other person will get kicked out. And so we do have some slots open. If you have questions, just email us at invest@robohack.ai. But we're expecting to make a large investment into a robotics opportunity. That closes next week. And so anybody who wants in, they have to fund by next, probably Tuesday. And then within the week after that, we might also use RoboHack, that's my expectation, to also invest in this Fintech opportunity. So it won't be in HouseHack, but it'll be in the partnership sort of consortium. And that would be another way to get exposure to that opportunity without investing directly through HouseHack. Anyway, I'll leave those links down below. If you have questions, just email us. ir@househack.com, invest@robohack.ai. Again, links down below. So anyway, I know all of that sounds lofty, but let's just put it this way. I'm putting my money where my mouth is, and I get really excited about when preparation meets opportunity. From the outside, everybody calls it luck. This is just the way I operate, and for me, it's really, really exciting. So what's remarkable is it sort of reminds me of my days at Red Robin. You know, back when I was an employee at Red Robin, I was 18 years old before becoming a real estate agent. And one of the reasons I became a real estate agent is because they refused to make me a server. And then I'm like, hey, I'm just going to become a real estate agent. You don't want to make me a server. Meanwhile, they hired my now wife and promoted her to server and then manager. I'm like, all right, maybe I just suck at serving. That's also possible. But they're like, nah, man, you're just really good at being the host. I'm like, nah. But anyway, it's just funny now. You know, I guess fate loves irony, as Elon always likes to say. But Red Robin has a market cap that is lower. I mean, it's close to our book value at Robinhood. Robinhood. It's close to our book value at HouseHack. Red Robin Gourmet Burgers is worth $80 million right now. Honestly, they're probably trending towards bankruptcy. The only reason they're not even worth less than this is because JP Morgan just helped them with another line of credit to try to bail them out, but I'm not optimistic. Yeah, let that one sink in. So, is this really designed to be something that says, oh, let's, brag about this sort of journey? No, not at all. In fact, a lot of scars have come along the way. And this is where we can start talking about some failures, including failures even at HouseHack. So in fairness, now, I did go to school for philosophy and economics at UCLA after saying no to going to Berkeley. And so lessons of stoicism are really everywhere. And there are some really terrible feelings that are associated with scars in business that can sometimes be associated with scars that are as bad as a family member having some form of terrible health issue. Now, I know that sounds potentially insensitive because it's like, oh my gosh, how could you ever compare business to another human? But for many people, businesses are like their family, their babies. And I'm not saying it should be, I'm just saying it is. And so sometimes scars in business can hurt as deeply as scars in health for other people. Now, I will say I haven't ever been hurt in business as badly as what I felt with my little baby Summer. And so if you haven't heard about this, I'll give you a quick little synopsis here. But there are a lot of similarities to the pain that comes with a missed opportunity, a mistake, a failure in business. Maybe you didn't make an investment. Maybe you made an oopsies in investing. Maybe you didn't take a business opportunity and you regret it. Maybe you screwed something up and you have like guilt about it. This is very normal and it can really hurt people a lot. Again, that's why I'm comparing it to health issues, because health issues can hurt people a lot. And that guilt and frustration just eats you away from the inside unless you can remain stoic and get through it. Remember the principles of stoicism. This is a very important lesson. As a stoic, or somebody who even appreciates stoic principles, you must accept that there are only things that you can control and things you can't control. And if you get frustrated over things you can't control, you let somebody else dictate your emotions. If you get frustrated over mistakes that you make or are going to make, well, then this is your opportunity to regulate those and try to correct them. Anyway, here's an example of something I just could not control, which was very frustrating. This is my baby Summer, and baby Summer came out looking like this. She was extracted via emergency C-section, and rightfully so, because her ileum was blocked. Her ileum is basically the connector between her small intestine and her large intestine. It was blocked by a meconium, which is basically early stage poo. And this blockage built up pressure and subsequent rupturing, which left a lot of undesirable quantities of things to spill out all over her insides, which can typically kill you from septic shock or the destabilization that happens to your body after a surgery kills you, or the chance that the over 80% chance that you end up with cystic fibrosis and then end up dying early because of that diagnosis is also a possibility, because generally a meconium ileus is associated with cystic fibrosis. Excuse me. Gosh, just thinking about it chokes me up. Well, anyway, so the pain of going through this and the months of dealing with this, especially when she's a 6-hour car ride away because of where she was born in the emergency C-section, well, let's just say it sucks. And it's scarring. It's definitely hard to, visit a little baby that's all alone in the NICU for 2 to 3 months and try to show them as much love as you regularly can to help them get through it. It's scarring. And fortunately, though, she doesn't have cystic fibrosis. She survived the coin toss. And here she is with her twin. This is Summer on the left. And now, today, she is one of the happiest, most appreciative, and what we think is one of the strongest of our 7 children. It's kind of weird. It's almost like, we don't know this obviously with certainty, but it's almost as if she is one of our happiest children. Nobody knows if it's because of what she went through or what, but the energy that comes from her, the thankfulness for life is so great. Probably because not only does she have multiple physical scars from 3 different surgeries, but because she went through hell and near death. Well, similar things happen with businesses. Businesses also get scarred. CEOs, entrepreneurs, you will suffer. If you don't want to suffer, don't be an entrepreneur. Don't be a CEO. Don't run a business, because I guarantee you there will be suffering. And it always has to do with money, which, if you think about it, is just a number, but it'll still eat you alive if you let it. And so you always have to remember, you must focus on the controllables and not the uncontrollables. And so, many of you might recall on the roadshow that HouseHack did earlier this year that we argued we were probably overstaffed. Well, we were. And so what did we do at HouseHack? Because frankly, we built the company so quickly, we could have probably, and I said this on the roadshow too, we could have probably managed about 10 times as many properties as we have now and tenants. Let's say if we have, I'm just going to ballpark 100 tenants now, we were built out for like 1,000 tenants. We're like, okay, we don't need this many people. And so this is where a lot of people were wondering, okay, wait a minute. When you say pruning people, does that mean reducing growth? And the fun fact about entrepreneurship is no. I think of it like a plane. When you're flying a plane that's overloaded and overweight, it becomes very difficult to maneuver. In fact, it becomes very difficult to even take off the runway and get going. Like, you take an overweight plane or a plane with a bunch of snow loaded up on it, and you try to take off on a runway, you're just going to keep going and going, but you're going more straight than you are going up, and you're going to hit the trees, or you're just going to lose lift and go right back into a field. That's very bad. Being overweight as a startup is bad, and most people don't realize it quickly enough. You must prune a business. Just like a rose bush, you let it grow, you prune it. You let it go, you prune it. And look, I never want to come across as suggesting that people are like a rose that you kind of just, you cut off the old stuff and throw it away. Anybody that we have let go, we have worked with really generous severance payments or additional payments, or we've helped them start their own businesses, and we've given them business, we've referred them business, whatever. We really try to help people out. But let's just be really clear. When there's excess, you have to start by pulling the Elon line. What did you get done today? Now, again, I know this sounds potentially too, rash, but let's take a look at how you could practically implement this as an executive. All right. So let's say you have two experts, and these are experts who have been doing, accounting and auditing or whatever for many years, and they're making $250,000 a year or whatever it is. Each of them, right? Let's just say. We're just going to round numbers here, make stuff up, whatever. If you ask, hey, what did you get done today? And the answer is, oh, okay, well, I asked so-and-so to do XYZ. And then you ask again, a different day. Oh, what'd you do today? Oh, I asked so-and-so to do X, Y, and Z. And that's regularly the answer that you get. Then you kind of start thinking to yourself, maybe I need to talk to so-and-so and see if they can do it without the other person. Cut out the middle layer. In other words, if something needs to get done, let's move from one person telling somebody else to get it done to just get rid of that other person and have the person who's actually doing it do it. Now, these things are not readily apparent when you first hire somebody. These are things that obviously anybody can Monday morning quarterback and look at a business and say, oh, you should have fired XYZ a long time ago. You didn't need them. But usually what happens when a business grows is you don't actually find these issues until people get into their comfort zones. And that could take 6 months to a year, sometimes even longer. And so what we found is with unfortunately, a lot of different people, we found that there were a lot of people who were pointing the finger going, oh, yeah, we're waiting on them to do something, and we're just kind of going to sit here and wait until they do it. And I'm like, okay, well, if that's what you're going to tell me every day, afuera! That's a shout out to Javier Malay. Out! Now, again, this sounds insensitive. I call this a failure of not discovering these sort of issues sooner at HouseHack. And so what I've done is, unfortunately, over the last, many months here, we have laid off a lot of people. And the irony is the company is running faster and more efficiently than ever before. It's kind of like that plane analogy, where once you get rid of the extra weight, the plane now flies really smoothly. And now all of a sudden, I pull up on the yoke, this thing's like, it's fun. Like, we can crank now with the team that we have now. And profitably, which we'll talk about those numbers in just a moment. But let me go through some of these here. So the people, as an example I just gave, you've got to regularly ask other people to get things done for you. Afuera! And sort of like, hey, how come this isn't done for investors? Oh, you need a certain form drafted and you're waiting for somebody else to do it? Why don't I just have the other person do your job then? Afuera! How about another one? Hey, bookkeeper working with whomever, accountant or whatever. Hey, how come this reporting isn't formatted appropriately for the other CPA, the PCAOB, financial statement CPA? Oh, well, because we just hire the other CPA because they know how to do securities filings. I'm like, wait a minute. This is even confusing me just saying it, right? Think about this for a moment. There's a regular CPA that can help you, do personal tax returns. Then there are SEC level CPAs that help you do financial filings for public companies. Then there are PCAOB level auditors that help you audit those financials to be a public company. Remember how earlier I mentioned we wanted to get HouseHack to be public earlier. Well, the people we had working with us were not familiar with how to do this work, and so they were sending this work to the people who were familiar with it. But then I'm like, well, wait a minute. If y'all don't know what you're doing for a public company, obviously we weren't public when we started working with them, but if you don't know how to be public and you're just hiring this other person, why don't I just work with them directly? So what do? I call that layer. I go, hey, can you just do it all? Like if we have someone else help you with bookkeeping and then, we verify it all and then you run those financial statements and then you work with the PCAOB auditor, can we cut out all of this middle fat? And when the answer is, yeah, in fact, cutting all of that out would just make it even easier for me to do my job and I could charge you less. Well, then all of a sudden I look at it, I go, oh my gosh. Well, what is a CEO supposed to do? You're supposed to do what's best for your shareholders and your customers, for our tenants, for our, our investors and everyone. So we look at it and go, okay, we are now going to cut out all of these expenses that are actually unnecessary and they're bogging us down. And we're going to streamline our basically auditing work to the point where now we can actually get financials together that are SEC ready for a public company and at PCAOB auditing standards, which are like the golden threshold of auditing standards. And we could do all of that while turning a profit in 2025. We'll talk more about profitability, but that's pretty cool. So what's the lesson there? You have to find out, can you do certain things more efficiently? And you've got to regularly ask yourself that. I'll give you another example. Somebody helps in property management. Hey, a problem came up with a tenant complaining about a garbage disposal. Great. Did you consult the HouseHack manual on what to do if a tenant complains about a garbage disposal? Because if you just send a plumber or an electrician out and they just end up resetting the GFI or taking the end of a broom and moving the disposal a little bit to dislodge, I don't know, something that's in there, and then it all works again, well, now we're going to pay a $150 service charge for, something that the tenant should have diagnosed initially themselves. And the problem would have been solved in 5 minutes without a tenant having to coordinate with somebody and meet somebody and us having to pay the service fee and all this nonsense. Oh, no, I just asked so-and-so to do it for me. Okay. If you are asking somebody else to do it for you, why do I need you? Afuera! Again, it sounds insensitive, but that's business. The same is true when it comes to how should I phrase this? Things that people are waiting for you on. There are some things that only I could do. So for example, hey, Kevin, we really should make a video giving everybody an update on HouseHack, kind of like this video, right? And entrepreneurial lessons. Great. Can you put together all of the content for what we need to make that video? Oh, well, no. In order for me to do that, I'll have to hire other people. What do I need you for then? Or another example. Oh, well, Kevin, we need you to film this. Okay, but if I film it, I'll just cut it myself and post it. Why do I need somebody else? Afuera! This also, another business lesson, comes to a conversation about entitlement. Now, this is also really important because remember, there are two ways you could look at business and you could look at life. And this is really, really important, okay? So if you've ever been an employee or you have employees, this is very important. There are two types of people. There are hardworking, grateful, and hopeful people. Those people will also sometimes get burned. I'm not saying that just because you are hardworking, grateful, or hopeful that you might not get burned. You might get burned. And it sucks. It absolutely sucks. Or maybe you were not actually hardworking, grateful, and hopeful, and you were another person. The other person is the pessimist, the negative person, the doubtful person, the distracting person. The person who takes bad news and distracts other workers who are trying to do good for the company. The people who are trying to be happy and somebody's bringing them down with bad news or bad feedback or whatever, without bringing solutions, instead just distracting other people. That kind of sort of rotten mentality's gotta go. The sooner the better. The same kind of mentality can come from people who, I think we pay people really well to work for us. In fact, I'm a big fan of, I'd rather overpay people than underpay people. But if then that all of a sudden turns into entitlement, like, well, if I don't get my stock comp by this date, I'm going to quit. Well, that kind of entitlement, afuera. Like, it's very simple. I think there's one thing that people know when they work for me. The more entitlement there is, the shorter your stay here will be. On the flip side, the rewards for staying here will almost always be greater than you anticipated. That's my belief, and that's what my goal always is for both investors and employees. So as a leader and a lesson as a CEO, it's very difficult to make these decisions because, here I am going, afora, talking about people, right? These are people with livelihoods, and this is why it's important to pay a good severance, help people transition, help people, build a new business, get a new job, or whatever. It's sad, it's hard, it's unfortunate. But if you're running a business, you've got to do it because otherwise the business will fail. The business that isn't paid attention to is the business that fails. So, with that said, HouseHack has dramatically cut its payroll. HouseHack has cut its payroll by about 70%. And we've cut out about $2.5 million of annual expenses, which is absolutely insane. And we'll talk about what that means for profitability, but let's just say it's really good. It's amazing how lean we could run this business. This team that we have now, I wholeheartedly believe every one of the people on the team could run the business without anybody else. If they needed to, right? They'd have to hire help. But I'm just saying, everybody is so good at their job. They're so good and so involved with this company, and they know all the ins and outs of this company that everybody individually could probably be the CEO of HouseHack, which is so exciting because I feel like now I'm just surrounded by a company of just CEOs. And it's so cool because I have the most hardworking group, there's a challenge almost of who can beat whom to the office, who can stay later than the other person, who can work harder. And it's so amazing because I think what we're building is beyond what we ever thought we could build, which is kind of cool. Anyway, you want to invest in HouseHack, go to househack.com. This video is not a solicitation. But again, I don't think we're going anywhere anytime soon. To me, HouseHack is my little Berkshire, and I'm really excited about building it over time. It's so exciting, and I want to share these lessons. But I think that's an important one too, is you want to have, there's a book called Good to Great. And one of the lessons is you want to have not a big bus, but a small bus where everybody on that bus is in it. And if you're driving that bus and you're like, oh man, now we're going to go this way. You want everybody else on that bus being like, hell yeah, let's effing go, baby. As opposed to, oh, well, do we really want to do that? And the negativity that sometimes comes are like, well, am I going to get paid more if we do this? Afuera! We'll leave you at the other stop. And then this also comes with, by the way, this is another lesson. Make sure you are adaptable, because some of the people that didn't make it in part because of their reluctance to learn basic technology, basic cybersecurity, basic technology, basic systems and procedures, SOPs. And these aren't things where it's like, oh, well, we didn't train you. These are things where we're sort of like, hey, let's train you. Let's train you again. Let's train you again. No, I hate this. No, I hate this. No, I hate this. All right. Anyway. So it's really, you're always going to be in this place where people doubt you. There will always be doubters. You really just don't want them on the inside because it makes it a lot harder. It's hard enough when people doubt you from the outside. And there are always people who make hate videos on me or stuff. I always think it's funny. Like the New York Times had a hit piece on me back in 2021, right before I ran for governor. I kind of took it with a grain of salt. I'm like, whatever. But a lot of my audience, they're actually like, oh my gosh, Kevin, why are you sharing this article? They're not being nice to you. And I'm like, it's kind of cool. I'm in the New York Times. And they're like, screw them. They're a-holes to you. And I'm like, well, that's a good point. So I guess I just have so much of an optimistic outlook that like, even if somebody's critical of me, I'm like, okay, whatever. They can have their criticism. But, that's as another lesson as an entrepreneur, maybe I'm too optimistic. And I think just that everybody ultimately can get along. I don't know, probably not. But, when I first became a real estate agent, I was doubted by a family member, by somebody who should have been motivating me. And instead they were trying to pull me down. They're like, why don't you get a real job? And looking back at it now, I didn't need to prove to these people that they were wrong. I needed to prove to myself that I was right. And so that actually makes the pain a lot more bearable, because you're always going to have setbacks in business, but then you can say to yourself, I conquered. And after all, that is what the purpose in part of life is to come and to challenge and to conquer. Will there be failures? Yes, but the goal is to win. The goal is not to sit outside of the arena looking in for your whole life, wondering what it's like on the inside. It is rather to prepare for the inside, to fight and to win. And yes, you'll get beat up, you'll get bruised, you'll get cut, you'll get stabbed, whatever. But you never, ever give up. You keep fighting. And so, with all of that said, what's next for HouseHack? Well, another thing we've done is, in streamlining our payroll costs, we've actually transitioned to what I'm so excited about, and that is development. I'm really pleased to announce that HouseHack is now moving into our first 10 accessory dwelling unit developments. This is really exciting because we're taking a 4 unit, turning it into a 6. We're taking an 8 unit and turning it into a 16 unit. And we think the ROI on these units could be anywhere between 7 to 9%, which is really, really good. Like, that's a cash on cash unleveraged return. For real estate, that's fan-frickin-tastic. In addition to that, we are also going to start developing our first parcel of raw land with a spec build and our 11th ADU. Combined, this experience with the cash we have available, this experience will get us into development. And this is another example of preparing the company for the future opportunities. Think about it this way. The bare minimum for HouseHack is that invitation homes plus the wedge factor. If we can get this Fintech to blow up, this partnership to blow up, amazing. That's why I'm putting $5 million in right now, because I'm like, please give me more access to this. This is great. If not that, then maybe we just do developments or the tokenization of real estate, the mini funds or whatever, or all of it. See, that's the cool thing. We could literally do all of it. We could do ADUs, subdivision tract, development, spec builds. We could do mini funds. We could do tokenization. Whatever the best option is for HouseHack is what I will do with the company at that time. And the best opportunities in front of us right now are continuing to acquire wedge deals, building our ADUs, and working this Fintech partnership. And we'll worry about our mini funds or tokenizations or whatever in 2026 as we get some more clarity on Trumponomics, as I like to call it. This is exciting to me. All of this is very, very exciting. I wanted to get through, some hard lessons first, but I want you to also think about this as a business lesson. You don't need to say, we will do exactly X, Y, Z, and then hit treasure. I don't like to think so narrow-mindedly that we will only do one thing and nothing else. I like to think everything in front of me is an opportunity that flows into the laser point of the end goal, which is the Berkshire Hathaway of the future. Maybe that includes doing a lot of things, much like Berkshire Hathaway does. Maybe that means we do insurance at some point in the future. All of these, whatever. Whatever the right opportunity is at the right time is what we will aim towards and plan towards. And I mean real estate insurance, okay, to be clear. I feel like most insurances are just a rip-off, and we need to democratize insurance, especially real estate insurance. That's what we're good at. We know how to underwrite real estate. We know how to do real estate finance. We can do real estate fintech. These are all things we can do. We know that. All right, cool. So now what? Well, in an effort of expanding our ability to do all of these things, we have discovered, I like to say, the magic of outsourcing. And this is a really cool thing, by the way, that is a huge lesson. I want you to think about this for a moment. If you hire somebody off of, let's say, Upwork, you're going to get, probably somebody from America. It's not like you're outsourcing to a different country. Upwork, it's mostly US-based people. Fiverr, it's mostly not US-based. But what I love about Upwork is that I can hire somebody who's like, hey, I'll do a project for you for $40 an hour. And usually what I do is I tell them, hey, I'll pay you $45 an hour. Like, I want you to focus on me as your top priority. And the cool thing about outsourcing somebody for something that's easier to outsource, like, bookkeeping or maybe website development or software development or whatever, the cool thing about this is they're all 1099s. That is, they're contractors. And so if they work hard for you and, you pay them whatever money you pay them, if you don't like their work anymore, you just tell them, I don't have work for you anymore. It's kind of like having an outsourced painter, electrician, website developer, software engineer, bookkeeper, whatever. If at any point you don't like any of them, afuera. Except the difference is they're not going to sue you for wrongful termination. They're not going to demand massive severance payments. They're not, they're like no hard feelings. Like, hey, we'll call you in the future when we need you kind of thing. It's so much easier. There are no retirement accounts, health insurance plans, payroll tax withholdings, workers' comp insurances that you have to worry about. None of that. So much easier to hire it out. Now, yes, sometimes is it more expensive? No. I used to think you have to internalize everything to keep costs the lowest. But what I found when we had our in-house construction team is things were cost overrunning like crazy on some of our first projects where I'm like, no, let's outsource more. And as soon as we started outsourcing more, things were actually starting to come in cheaper. Because now when the flooring contractor's like, hey, you bought the flooring from Lowe's delivered it with free delivery, and the flooring guy's like, I'm going to show up and do the job for you for $4,000. Cool, it's done for $4,000. When I compare that to overtime hours, workers' comp, payroll taxes, the time they spend ordering it, the time they spend talking to Lowe's, the time they spend picking it up from Lowe's, the time they spend on returns, I put all that together. I'm like, it's cost me $7,000 to do the job. I'm like, dude, I could have outsourced it. And usually when you outsource, the funny thing is when you outsource, people are like, yay, I get to work for Kevin. Whereas when somebody's an employee, you kind of get into, I got to go to work. Like, the mindset is so different. Yeah. Like, again, the CEO type employees that I have now, huge shout out, by the way. Tristan, Ken, McKay, all everybody, okay? You all are amazing. Okay, so I want to be just really transparent here. These are okay. A lot of what I'm sharing in this video, I think these are like multi-million-dollar lessons. Well, I mean, that implies they're multi-million-dollars of cost. No, I mean, over time, they would be. Well, I mean, $2.5 million of payroll saved. That's, I guess, a multi-million-dollar lesson. But imagine the longer you wait to solve these things, the costs and how those savings can actually compound into now new partnerships, new ideas, new ventures, developments, fintech, whatever, artificial intelligence, underwriting, whatever. All of these things actually make us potentially balloon the valuation of HouseHack way faster than being bogged down by all this weight and people distracting each other. Again, we are more efficient today than we've ever been before. Just crazy, because we've just cut out every middle layer that we have. It's great. Like, I feel like I'm flying a plane and the lady on the cockpit voice is going, minimums. And I'm like, that's where I want to be, baby. So anyway, too many pilot lessons, sorry. I actually passed my written pilot exam today. It's kind of cool. Anyway, okay. So, what's next? Well, the next thing is because we are now doing PCAOB financials, we think that our profitability, and we are so much more streamlined with our expenses, we actually think our profitability will look delicious now. I think 2024 is probably kind of going to be like a buy the dip opportunity. So if you're investing in HouseHack, in the accredited bond raise that we're doing in December of 2024, or maybe the non-accredited raise that maybe we'll do in January of 2025, depends if the SEC is good with it. It's up to them, not us. Again, if it were up to me, it'd already be live. I think you're buying the dip on HouseHack because you're going to be buying into the company when, in my opinion, the valuation is still low. It's coming out of an expensive 2024. Okay, we had a lot of severance charges in the fourth quarter, laying people off. We had a lot of IPO expenses because we were planning to IPO at the beginning of 2025, which we're delaying a bit now. There are a lot of expenses and legal expenses associated with that. A lot of one-time expenses that they're just going to hit in 2024 and then they'll be gone. But going into 25, like I think we'll be negative for 24. We'll be profitable probably the entire year, Q1, 2, 3, 4, no guarantees, but I'm pretty sure we will be profitable every single quarter in 2025. And by the end of 2025, our capital improvements, our ADUs, should start getting rented out. And then our profit should go up even more in 2026, along with our new acquisitions. So I think we'll be like, as I say, in the black and then even better in the black. Like I think our numbers will kind of look like, if this is the break-even line, it'll look like 2024 and then whoop, it'll be a really cool 24, 25, 26 transition. And that's why I think if somebody's investing in at the end of 24 and beginning of 26 or 25, you're really buying the dip because you're buying, to some extent, some uncertainty, right? But again, I'm just going to work on being as transparent as possible. As part of that, what I want to do starting in 2025 is basically like mock quarterly reports. So like in April, we do a mock Q1 HouseHack quarterly report and earnings call. And that way we'll take our financials, especially when we have our PCAOB audited financials, and we just review them. I talk about them. And it's basically just practice for being a public company. I think that would be very fair to investors and useful. So we've talked about profitability. We've talked about growing the company. We've talked a lot about lessons. We've talked about the fintech opportunity. Again, 2 ways to invest in that. One is going to be through HouseHack. The other would be through RoboHack. But we only have a limited number. Like we're pretty sure we're next to full on RoboHack. But there are some people who haven't funded yet. So if you were interested in that, if you're an accredited, right now you have to be accredited for either investment opportunity. You could also invest in both and diversify, I guess, if you wanted to. But just go to those websites and read the prospectuses there. This video can't be a solicitation. Okay, obviously investing comes with risk. We all know that. Okay, good. So we've talked ADUs, we've talked developments, we've talked spec build on land, we've talked Lennar, Invitation Homes, we talked operational efficiency, we've talked outsourcing. This also includes software development. Outsourcing software development has saved us a lot of money, and there's some really cool things we're planning on releasing very, very soon. So I'm very excited about that. Stay tuned for that. And let's see what else here. We talked about the PCAOB. Yeah, I'm all in. Well, I mean, like when I say I'm all in, I'm just like, this is all I focus on every single day. Obviously, not every single one of my dollars is invested here, but again, I'm putting $5 more million in after the other investments that I've already made, and I couldn't be more excited. So this is a really cool journey. Hopefully this video wasn't too long. I realize it's a long video, but I think it's really educational, and I'm kind of excited about it. So I think now I'm going to go bowling with the kids. So cheers, my friends. Thank you for watching this. I hope you learned a thing or two. And if you have questions, remember, hit us up at invest@househack.com. IR@househack.com, invest@robohack.ai. Those links are down below. If you just wanted to learn lessons from an entrepreneurial point of view, hopefully this video helped you out. Thanks so much, my friends. We'll see you in the next one. Goodbye and good luck.
Why not advertise these things that you told us here? I feel like nobody else knows about this.
We'll try a little advertising and see how it goes.
Congratulations, man. You have done so much. People love you. People look up to you.
Kevin Paffrath there, financial analyst and YouTuber. Meet Kevin. Always great to get your take.